Hey everyone, this is my reaction video to the body ritual of the Nacirema article that we read in class, and here it goes. My initial reaction was very, I don't know, I was a little taken aback and surprised, and the most surprising part for me is that I've read this article before when I was younger. I think I was like 6th or 7th grade, and then again in like 11th grade. I've read it multiple times before, and I forgot that I had read it. And so seeing it again and not really realizing it until like later on in the article was a big surprise to me, and that just shows how good it was when they delivered the entire article. I think the best part is how the delivery is given to us. My example would be if someone came up to me on the street and said, "Hey, American culture is pretty weird. Like you guys do some really weird things." I would just be like, okay." It would have very little to no effect on me. I wouldn't really be interested to like hear more about it. I don't know. It wouldn't bother me. I wouldn't think about it. But the way the article does it is they give you the outside perspective of American culture without actually telling you that's what they're doing, and it's kind of hidden from you until later on in the article, and that's the biggest part, that you're given that shock factor and that surprise that hey, they're talking about Americans right now, and like you don't even realize it. So you are making all these assumptions and biases, and you're presuming things about it, and then you realize, hey, I'm doing that about myself. And of course, like some things were a little out of context or different, but like it does really go to show you how surprising and how truthful you can be when you don't realize you're not making those uh, prescribed assumptions based on certain attributes. And like I didn't realize it was American culture, but I was thinking these things, and then you realize, and you're like, oh, interesting. That's probably going to be the filler word, by the way. Interesting. I really like that word. One of the more intriguing, not interesting, intriguing things to me was the emphasis that we put on your bodily health and your bodily looks, and basically just the very physical, visceral parts of a human being. And this was brought up in the article in the third paragraph where we talked about how Americans are with their looks. The quote was, "A large part of the fruits of these labors and a considerable portion of the day are spent in ritual activity. The focus of this activity is the human body, the appearance and health of which loom as a dominant concern in the ethos of the people." This took me by surprise because I never really thought about how much looks like make an impact on your life or how important they are in American culture. Um, I think a really big shock for me was I was sitting down to do this article or to do this assignment, and I was reading through the article, and I realized I had just spent the last 3 hours showering, shaving, doing a face mask, brushing my teeth, like all of these normal things for me, what is I view as normal, and I do this all the time. And then you look at it from the outside perspective, and you're like, hey, that's not really normal for me. That's weird. But then I'm over here like, well, it's not normal to not do that. It's weird to not do that. And it's just very fundamentally different views of this perspective and this perspective of the culture. And this one's outside and this one's inside the culture. And for me, it's like I grew up with all these views and all these people around me telling me these things. Whereas this person out here is just like, that's interesting. That's weird, but okay. And then it's just so interesting. Okay, there's my filler word. It's so cool to me to see how subjective the perception is and how it changes everything, every little aspect of that culture and that view and that lifestyle in particular. One thing I find weird about American culture, being an American, but also speaking to others outside of American culture and just reading and being absorbed with information, would be how open Americans are with each other and with strangers and talking about certain things, but on the flip side, not being able to talk about certain things. My example would be we are very, very big about talking about race, religion, mental health, equality, all these sorts of things that in a lot of other cultures and places you're not able to talk about those things. It's kind of taboo and you just don't do it. It's against the rules, the laws of that culture and that area. But then you go into American culture, and that's very like emboldened to talk about. Like a lot of people do it, and they're very vocal, they're very loud. But then we can't talk about certain things like sex, nudity, just other problems, not problems, but like other aspects of life and other problems that relate to those. We aren't allowed to talk about that. That's kind of taboo. It's weird. We don't do that. But in other cultures, like that's okay. That's a part of life for them. And I think that very much goes to show how different cultures are and how subjective it is based on your perception and where you are in the world. My example that I want to talk about is I smile at strangers sometimes. I don't know why, I just do. I'm a very happy, charismatic person, and I like to show it on my face and with my actions and when I'm talking and interacting with people. So sometimes I'll just give someone a smile because, like, maybe it makes their day. I don't know. But I've gotten looks back sometimes, and they've been like, what? Like, some people will find it weird that I do that. And I think that's because of their upbringing and their culture and the differences between them. One way that that has changed throughout history is definitely through social media. Um, Americans find it so easy to talk to others and talk about certain topics that a lot of other people can't talk about or find it weird to talk about simply because of how, I don't know the word, but like how involved we are with social media through the internet and how interconnected we feel with other people. It just really pushes us to feel very at ease when we're talking to new people or talking to people that we don't really know. And we can talk about certain things that like you wouldn't talk about unless you like really knew someone in other cultures. I think that's very beneficial overall, simply because I really think communication is such a vital part of our lives, and like being able to effectively communicate with people is so important. Just based on everything in life, you want to be able to communicate. That's how you form relationships, and that's how you form bonds. One quote that talks about it is from Anthony Robbins. He says, "To effectively communicate, we must realize that we are all different in the way we perceive the world and how we use this understanding as a guide to our communication with others." The quote does a great job speaking as to why communication and understanding are so vital in our world. And I think learning to communicate effectively is simply the best tool and path to learning from others, creating relationships and bonds, seeing how you impact other people's lives and how they impact yours. And I think that's what it all boils down to, is how you can impact others and how they can impact you and your life. And I think that's concluding my entire video. Um, I don't really have anything else to talk about, but thank you for watching, and sorry it's in my dorm room. It's a little messy. That's my my roommate's side of the room. Mine's actually clean, but I was just sitting at my desk, so that's your view. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.